Well, onto this conversation now. There is a big digital gap amongst the youth of South Africa, and this puts them on the back foot and prevents them from being active and contributing members of society. Well, that's according to Wits University's Joburg Centre for Software Engineering and the Institute of Information Technology Professionals of South Africa. Now, the Write Your Future campaign, offered by non-profit organisation Social Coding, is aiming to empower young women by teaching them coding, robotics and virtual reality. To tell us more about this, I'm joined by Tsiamo Shilowa, co-founder of Social Coding. Good evening to you and welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you very much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So I think let's start and chat a little bit about Social Coding,
Sure.
the NGO that you've co-founded, and about the campaign and what it is that you want to see come from that.
All right, thanks. So we founded Social Coding in 2016, so this is our 7th year running now. And it initially just started because we had some curious girls who wanted to learn how to code. And then we just realized that there was such a big digital divide in the country. So we went and started partnering with universities, some organizations, and said, here's a missing digital gap in these organizations, in these communities. Can we do something about it? We started by doing our own programs, and then slowly but surely as the years went by, we realized that there's certain ways in which we can bridge this gap. And we've been able to impact about 5,000 students all over South Africa. And our ages are from 8 till 18.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
So let's talk about women and their contribution to
Sure.
the STEM industry. Do you have a large focus on educating and upskilling young women? And how are you finding their attitude and contribution to the space?
Definitely. I myself am in the STEM space, so it's been a very tricky one, obviously navigating this space, which is very male dominated.
Sure.
So being able to found this organization, I understand the need for more women, right? And that's probably why we advocate so much for women. But what I do find is there's quite a lack of confidence in these girls. And it's from two factors, right? Because this is such a male-dominated industry. And the second factor is because they don't come and grow up having computers, robotics, internet at their disposal, right? So our job as an organization is to make sure that we get to them, make them feel comfortable, and include them in the journey.
And who are these young women and people that you are trying to get to? Where are they usually from? What type of person fits this criteria?
Okay, yeah, so we usually focus on the underprivileged. So we look at our rural communities and our townships, right? And we specifically focus on those two cohorts because we realize that they're forgotten, right? So we go into them and we identify a community and we form a relationship. So just to speak about the Write Your Future, we launched it last month in Mashite, Limpopo.
Yes.
And we had 15 girls from that community. So these are girls who've been there, grown up there, and are still living there. We had to then zoom in and say, who do we choose, right? Because we didn't want to feel like we are excluding some people. But we then ended up saying, we'll take those who unfortunately did not get access to go to university. And they're just sitting at home, not knowing what to do. And that's essentially the criteria we chose to essentially bring them onto this program.
That's beautiful, because it's no secret that here in South Africa we have a huge unemployment crisis.
Definitely.
And it affects the youth so largely. So
Yes.
just to encourage those young people again that there is some sort of hope and there is something that you can focus on in the
Definitely.
meantime
Yes.
while you're trying to navigate that
Yes.
space. I want to expand on the digital skills gap that we are seeing in South Africa. What sort of skills are you imparting on these young women?
So for this program specifically, what we did is we decided to focus on end user computing. So get them introduced to the computer, how to operate it, get used to your Microsoft, right? The entire package. And then once they're done and completely comfortable with that, then we move them to one of our tailored social coding programs, which is tailored around robotics and the Lego Robotics League that we usually take. So then we equip them to say, how do they use the robotics and the Lego to essentially be able to build and solve solutions. Yeah.
And on that point, I want to then
Sure.
move to digital education and how we are ensuring that our educators and our teachers are keeping up, because the world is evolving so quickly, especially teachers and educators in the rural areas where these are issues that don't normally get there. Are you assisting in trying to educate teachers and educators in making sure that they are able to impart these skills in schools?
Yeah, so that's a very big one for us, and that's why we go back to the community and say, we'll teach you so that you can teach your community. So once all these learners after the 10-month program are done with Write Your Future, they should be equipped to be able to teach these kids basic coding, basic robotics, right? So maybe we not be able to impart the teachers, but we are able to impart those school leavers to say, you guys are now out there, you're not doing anything, come back on Saturdays, help us reach more girls, help us reach and bridge the digital divide. Yeah.
And then once you've taken these girls through the program,
Yes.
what are the options then thereafter?
Yeah, sure. So they can obviously stay on in social coding volunteers. That's where they essentially prep these kids for hackathons and robotic challenges. But also the beautiful thing about this end user computing is it's a certification that they can use to actually go working. So you're able to get into your basic jobs, you can get into call center receptionist. So we are also just giving them the opportunity to say, yes, we understand you don't have this ability to go to university, you don't have the funds or the resources, but here's something that you can use to better yourself.
Here's hope.
Here's
I
hope.
love that. So how are we expanding this program?
Yeah.
The pilot project kicked off in September. You said in Limpopo. What does the future hold? How are we growing? How are we expanding? How are we reaching more young people?
So I think this was our pilot, and we started with 15. But obviously our hope is to obviously go next year and expand and have more girls on the program. Essentially, what we want to do is to be able to say at the end of 2024 that we've got like 60 girls who've graduated with end user computing, and 35 of them are based in this call center and this agencies, and this is the work that they're doing from the work that we've given them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So if someone's watching at home perhaps tonight and they know a group of young girls who would love the opportunity, how do they get in touch? How do they start?
Yeah, so we have an email address, socialcoding, hello@socialcoding.co.za. They can also visit our website, www.socialcodingsa.com, and you can get then, I think also if anyone wants to partner with us and say, here's a school we've identified, we really want to bring the digital gap down and we want to bridge it and give girls opportunities and boys, they're more than welcome to reach out to us and we'll tailor a program for them.
Amazing. Tiamo, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you for your
Abigail.
insights, and thank you for the amazing work that you are doing. My absolute pleasure. That was Tiamo Shilowa from Social Coding, just talking to us about the Write Your Future campaign and the work that they are doing when it comes to upskilling young men and women in the STEM industry. But still to